Man, the longer you live, especially when you're in the know, right? I guess if you want to use the term base, the longer you live, the more you understand society. That's why they say ignorance is bliss, right? The more you can put the pieces together and connect the dots, which is why I've been telling you guys since the first one, and I'm going to always say this: there's only one source of evil. It manifests itself as different, you know, costumes. It's a master of disguise, but I I guarantee you that there's only one source of evil. That being said, like there's a few topics I want to touch on today. And again, like just I don't know if anybody followed with the Jason Ardice story, the youngest black professor in UK history in the University of Cambridge. And shocking to nobody who understands how the world really works. Another DEI hire, obviously, has been caught being fraudulent and cheating and plagiarizing and whatnot. And mind you, this dude is getting paid, probably top dollar. And on top of that, like these students are paying top dollar to be taught by him. And it's is anybody fucking surprised at this point? Like it's just man, I don't care if you're a black woman or whatever the fuck. As long if you earn the position, you earn the position. You earned it. You know? That's a universal merit. That's a fucking law. You earned it. That's yours. You beat out the competition. Through thick and thin, you won. You put all blood, soil, and tears, and you won. But again, like these DEI stories of the airline pilots and women, and again like last year's story about these women pilots, and all those black guys, and now this latest one, like this Jason Arde. I mean, is anybody surprised? And you know what the outrage is? Which I don't even know why it's an outrage. Obviously, mainstream media, just like how they've done with the amount of British women, girls that's been raped in the last quarter century. They're estimating somewhere between 400,000 to a million, right? Which was hidden by the mainstream media and police on purpose. This too was hidden by the mainstream media. Why? Because it goes against the motherfucking narrative, right? That's all it is. That. There's nothing else to say at the end of the day for this anymore. These scumbags, these villains of society, these cockroaches, these fucking parasites, the ones that think the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's these motherfuckers, right? And it got exposed by supposedly a racist blogger. Now I didn't look into that whole racist blogger part too much, so I can't really say anything. But even if it was true, which wouldn't be far fetched, I mean, what does that tell you, right? Obviously, the mainstream media supposedly has more resources, and I can't even say this word integrity, like fuck them and their integrity, right? But yeah, it was found by a racist blogger, and he put all the pieces together, and here we are, right? And yeah, what else can you say? Who the fuck is shocked except delusional, people on the left, the liberal minded, the people who have consumed the woke virus, who become part of it now. Who else is shocked? Like nobody. Is this gonna stop? No. Is this gonna keep happening? Absolutely. It's probably been happening. God only knows how many more, these DI agendas that we are already seeing have turned to a utter collapse shit show, has costed other people their lives, right? And it's going to continue to happen. Why? Just because. Again, it's part of the evil. It's not just because, obviously, but I'm just, going along with the speech. And on top of that, now you also have this world, there's bright sparks here and there, like there's things that you always could look forward to, friends, family, good food, good life, a good relationship, a good woman. And if you're a woman, a good man, like these beautiful things. There are some beautiful things in life, beautiful places to see, explore, adventures. And now you have this, supposedly, she's a Catholic, Governor Haley signs the legislation where you can abort the child literally like hours before birth. And I am 199% confident this is not the first law that was passed. I've seen something similar to this a year or two ago. So we're at that point now, right? And obviously the horseshit lie is the fact that, oh, if the woman is suffering through, miscarriage and all those, how is that even fucking related? If that's the case, at that point it's not even an abortion. That's just life threatening, like surgery that needs to happen. Let's just call it what it is. When we're saying abortion, and again, I think I mentioned the numbers before, but if I recall correctly, just in the USA alone since the 1960s, since Planned Parenthood became a thing, right? We're talking what, 55 to 60 million babies, bare minimum, that's been murdered. And we're talking about the Mayans and the Aztecs and human sacrifice. Man, just American society today alone will put those guys to shame. We'll make those guys play in the small leagues. Progressive. We're so advanced. We're so ahead. Bro, I don't want to get started. But yeah, here we are, another one. If, as a woman, because it's your body, your choice apparently. But as a man, it's not my wallet and my choice. I have to provide for you because us men, we have to live in the plantation. It's us living in the fucking plantation that keeps this whole system running. Like I said, women are just as men are too, but women especially are just a fucking, just pieces on the fucking grand chessboard, nothing else. Like, if only more of them realize this, we'll be so much better off. At least we could start collaborating and working together to taking down this one source of evil, the true root of it all, right? But here we are, right? This is where it is. Unfortunately, that's not happening. Whatever the opposition says in today's world, you can bet your ass it's actually them that are doing the same thing. When they tell you young men are getting radicalized. To whom? According to whom? Young men, just on average, higher IQ, right? They're looking at society, more logical, more rational. They're able to connect the pieces. They're saying, fuck this. There's nothing in this for me. There's nothing out here for me. Like, why would I try? That's why the only place, and this is actually a theory that I came up with. Gym memberships have been skyrocketing, and this is no longer the whole, it's January, my New Year's resolution, and then come, second week of February, nobody's there, it's ghost town, but they keep hanging on to their membership, which used to be the old membership model for gyms, by the way. That's why the prices have gone up so much. Now they even have if you want to lock in the price that you originally got in, you have to pay every 3 months like a premium on top of that. Like, it's getting ridiculous, right? Because now people are starting to go. Why? Because it's one of the few places that's left, truly, that if you put in the work, you're consistent. In a moderate amount of time, you can actually see the fruits of your labor. Where else can you say that in the modern world today, especially when it comes to men? Systematically beat down and oppressed. Where else can you say that, right? You can't. So, yeah, there we are. And that's the funny part. And again, the funny part is the fact that who is much more radicalized, and you look at every single chart, every graph, you start from South Korea to here, all over the West, women, heavily, much more radicalized so than men. You would think that they would sit amongst themselves and ask, hey, we're all sharing the same ideology now, almost down to the teeth. There's exceptional few among us that are the bright gems. Obviously they're not going to say that, but how did we get here? Just simple as that. How did we get here? How did us women are now so far drifted off from men? Or is this the same bullshit, low IQ, lazy playbook of we're just enlightened and it's just the men that are just cavemen and they're behind and all that bullshit? Is this the cope? Because I always say it. We're all gods of cope, right? Copium and all that nowadays, so it would make sense. But there we are. There we are. And the funny thing is, you look, right? You look at the current state of society today. And again, it's how feminized we have become. How the dark triads of the female nature have been completely let loose. I've been reading a couple of books about the managerial revolution that's been taking place since late 1800s, and especially kicking off from 1900s and onwards. And how the managerial class is just in an ever constant state of devouring anything and everything in their way. And obviously bureaucracy is part of that, right? And you look at it today, and again, female representation in politics has now overtaken men. And I'm not talking about big positions of power, because even though as tribalist as they are, a lot of women still have some sort of understanding the fact that and I think we're gonna cross the threshold soon, that a female president or a female in charge of these big countries. I mean, yes, there's been exception, like Margaret Thatcher and Angela Merkel. They done good and bad things. Say the same thing about the male politicians too, of course. I mean, of course, like there's no who is great anymore, like who can be revered and looked upon. Just on the top of my head right now, this second, I can't recall. Especially in the last 30, 40 years, I can't recall. You know? Maybe Tito. But you look at this never-ending, ever-growing, ever-consuming bureaucracy, right? You look at it, the fact that it has to be continuously self-perpetuating as like a parasite, like this infection, this virus, and DEI is part of that. This new legislation about abortion is part of that. Because they understand, right? It's like the Captain Save-A-Ho situation. They create the conflict so that they can come with more laws and more regulation and more bureaucracy to say, this is how we'll solve it. You could tell that these people have no real world fucking experience whatsoever, right? Most of them have never held a real world job. Most of them, they truly believe that you sitting behind a desk in a government office and pushing pen and pencil and writing policy means you're actually doing something productive and useful for the planet. There was a time, like it's a threshold. We passed that decades ago. There was a time that this was useful. That's what made West the envy of the world. Laws that actually meant and stood for something. Laws that actually improved the quality of life for us. Right? That's time is long past. Here we are now. Here we are now, right? That's all it is. So you see these new DEI laws, these new abortion laws. It's all meant to perpetuate itself, to come to you and say, it's you, the public, right? The proletariat. You fuckers are the ones in the wrong. What we need, it's not us, because we're the enlightened ones, because we have a fucking degree that you guys can all wipe your asses with. That's exactly what it's worth. It's you that is uneducated. You're the goof. So you need to be educated. You need to be more regulated. You need to be more bureaucratized, and we're gonna do that with more of it, right? It's not about how much does the amount of money that goes to welfare in the United States. If I recall correctly, I believe 1/3 of it, if not slightly more, maybe 40%, goes to the administration. Are you really gonna sit there today in a world of electronics, that the welfare administration needs to be that high? No, of course not. We all know what this is for. It's not about the people. It's about the ever-growing bureaucracy. I had friends who held, government policy positions, right, in Canada, Ontario. And again, I had friends that are in America, USA too, that we talk, and they tell me the exact same thing. It's never about solving the problem. It all comes down to one single fucking thing, which is how do we grow the program? That's all it is. How do we grow the program? So what do you expect from these people? And these people, like I said, the jealousy, the envy in their heart. That's why also a DEI exists, because they're incompetent, they're buffoons, they're lacking severely. And that's why they hold back the competent ones, the capable ones. And it's fear. They are afraid. But I have faith. People like myself and people who are much more established and much more, have outreach than I are speaking the truth. They're saying the right things, and this will be an ongoing battle, and this is going to continue. But as long as we don't give up, as long as we keep up the good fight, because the truth is on our side. That's a fact. That's something I always tell everybody, myself included. As long as the fact that I have the balls to go on this camera and say what I say, and I have no reach still, but at least I know the truth is on my side. That's what stops me from being deterred. So I will keep going. They will keep going. And we will duke it out, but you will not win. You will not win, you evil parasitic bastards. You will not fucking win this. And yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe and all the good stuff, and take care.